Hello and welcome to the Club Sports Officers Training. I'm Ryan Bradshaw, Assistant Director of Club Sports here at George Mason University Recreation, and I'll be leading you through this online training. This training is comprised of 5 separate modules, each designed to let you learn about important requirements of club officers, like how to collect dues, request facility space, arrange for travel, and how to pay invoices. Each and every officer in your club must complete the full training. Each module is completed when the quiz for that module, located on IM Leagues, is passed with a score of at least 8 out of 10. All of the information included in the online trainings can be found in the Club Sports Manual, available on the Club Sports website, clubsports.gmu.edu, and on IM Leagues. Okay, let's get started on the first module. The first module will cover general requirements of all clubs. Our first topic of business, categories and requirements of clubs. At Mason, we have 3 categories of clubs: competitive, recreation, and registered student organizations. Let's talk about competitive clubs. For competitive clubs, 100% of club members are required to maintain a status as a Mason credit student. That means they are taking at least 3 credit hours per semester that they are a club member. Coaches, instructors, and Mason employee advisors to the club are not considered club members. All club officers must be full-time students and also be in good academic standing with the institution. That means they have a 2.0 GPA or better. Competitive clubs must also have a national or international sport governing body that they can belong to, such as a USA Rugby or a USA Triathlon. Competitive clubs may choose to have tryouts in order to be a member of the club, although all efforts should be made to allow as many students as possible to participate. Competitive clubs may have a volunteer coach or a paid coach, and they must also take part in at least 4 competitions per year. Recreational clubs have some slightly different requirements, although the first 3 are exactly the same as they are for competitive clubs. Here's where things are a bit different. Recreational clubs must be open to all Mason students. No tryouts or cuts are permitted. They may also have a volunteer coach, but may not pay a coach. The club may only travel off campus up to 3 times per year for club events or competitions, and may only compete in up to 4 competitions per year. Lastly, they may only receive up to $2,000 in funding from the Club Sports Office per fiscal year. If you are unsure if your club should be recreational or competitive, speak to the Club Sports Office for more clarification. As mentioned earlier, club sports are no longer governed through the RSO process. Club sports, which report to the Recreation Department, do not complete the RSO registration process and are not eligible for any funding from the Student Involvement Office. All of your funding and requirements come from the Club Sports Office instead. As a Mason Recreation Club Sport, your club must be registered as a club sport on Get Connected. You must also maintain your club's Get Connected page with up-to-date contact information and list your current club officers. This will allow your fellow Mason students to find your club. All other club sports information, such as rosters and paperwork, are located on IM Leagues, not Get Connected. Let's move on to some general requirements for all clubs. All clubs must be formed, organized, and governed by and for current Mason Credit students. Membership must be comprised solely of Mason Credit students. Mason employees may participate in the club depending on the club's individual constitution and the club's league rules. All clubs must have a minimum of 3 executive members. All members of the executive must be current full-time Mason students in good academic standing. You must know who your club officers are by going to IM Leagues, on the page going to the club information sheet, and entering in, as of this date, who your president is, who your VP, who your secretary, who your treasurer, and any other officers you have on your roster. And you can submit this form for review. This form informs us of who your officers are so we know who we should be talking to when it comes to spending money and getting forms approved. You're also required to have your officers listed on Get Connected. Get Connected is Mason's platform for student organizations. It's important that you guys are listed on here, such as our rugby clubs, because this is where all of our incoming freshmen are directed to find info about organizations on campus. You're required to have all of your officers listed on here. So, for example, women's rugby has done a good job and they have their 4 officers for this year already listed on the website. You also need to have your other members listed on here. However, I will import that data from IMLeagues and upload your roster into Get Connected. All clubs must also have a valid constitution on file with the club sports office. If you need a template, you can find one on our club sports webpage. clubsports.gmu.edu, go to Forms and Documents, and then find the Constitution Guide, which has a template of how you can create a constitution. All clubs must have an active and involved Mason faculty staff advisor. If your club is unable to find an advisor, the club sports office is able to act as an advisor until your club is able to find one. Clubs need to have an account with the club sports office through which all of their financial transactions are completed. Clubs may not have any funds in any place outside of Mason, such as in an outside bank, at a club member's house, or, my all-time favorite, in the trunk of a club member's car. All clubs must receive permission in advance from the club sports office for all club activities, including, but not limited to, promotion, marketing, practices, competitions, travel, fundraising, and social activities. Permission will only be granted after the club has completed all the appropriate paperwork. We'll cover what appropriate paperwork means throughout the rest of the trainings. Paperwork for off-campus travel must be submitted at least 48 hours before departure. More information on this is found in Module 2. Good news though, IMLeague saves us a lot of time here. By submitting your paperwork for an on-campus activity through a facility request form, or for off-campus travel with a travel request form, both completed through IMLeagues, and having it approved through the site, you've quickly been approved for the activity. To note, you also do not need permission for an on-campus club meeting where no activity takes place. Clubs may have volunteer coaches, and in many ways, we definitely encourage you to have a coach. Competitive clubs may have a paid coach if you've budgeted for it. The coaches are not part of the club executive and may not vote on any club decision. Coaches may not submit any forms on the club's behalf, and any reimbursements to coaches must be approved by the club executive. At least once per year, all clubs must have an annual general meeting, which is open to all current club members. At the AGM, an election of the club's executive members for the upcoming year should take place. We strongly encourage this meeting and election to take place early in the spring semester to allow for a transition period for the new executive. It is important to remember that an election must take place, even if that election consists solely of acclaiming the only candidate for a position. All of your club members need to be given an opportunity to take part in the election process. A quick reminder, competitive clubs must take part in a minimum of 4 competitions per fiscal year to maintain their competitive club status, and competitive clubs are the only clubs eligible for over $2,000 of funding per year from the club sports office. All club members must also be Mason Recreation members in the semester they are taking part in the club. All full-time Mason credit students are automatically Mason Rec members through their mandatory student fees. Full-time status for undergrads equals taking 12 or more credit hours per semester. Part-time students do not pay the mandatory student fee and therefore need to purchase a Mason Rec membership each semester from the RAC front desk. If your club members are receiving an error message while trying to register on IMLeagues, the most likely reason is that they are not a full-time student. All members of the club must be registered on imleagues.com in order to appear on the official club roster. They must also complete all portions of the pre-participation packet prior to taking part in any sport-related club activity, such as a tryout, a practice, or a game. The pre-participation packet contains the waiver. If your club allows members to take part in any activities without completing the waiver, you are putting yourselves at risk for a lawsuit in the event of an injury. Pre-participation packets can only be completed online. We no longer accept paper. Each and every club member must have valid medical insurance at all times while participating in club activities, and must also have a valid and current physical completed by a registered physician that clears them for all athletic participation. The physical must specifically clear all athletic participation. The physical must be submitted prior to participating in any competitions. For clubs designated as high risk, the physical must be submitted prior to participating in any sport-related activity, including a tryout or a practice. A few final general club requirements. The Club Sports President's Council is comprised of an executive member from each club. The council meets on a monthly basis, typically the first Sunday of the month during the academic year at 8 p.m. This is barring any holidays or Super Bowls. Exact times, dates, and locations are listed on IM Leagues and are also emailed out. Each club must be represented by a member of the club's executive at each council meeting. You cannot just send any member of your club. Attendance is taken, and sanctions for violating this policy start at a written warning and quickly escalate to suspensions from operation. A few years back, we wanted to find a way to put the ownership of the club sports program here at Mason in the hands of our students. As a result, in 2014, the Executive Council for Club Sports, the ECCS, was formed. The ECCS is a committee of 7 student leaders elected by the Club President's Council to advise and make decisions on day-to-day operations of the club sport program. In particular, the ECCS is responsible for the allocation of university funds for all club sports, amending the ECCS Constitution, understanding the policies and procedures of club sports, determining disciplinary actions for clubs and members as needed, acting as a mediator for clubs with internal conflicts, acting as a liaison between the club sports and the university staff, and providing direction for the implementation of new regulations and policies that affect all clubs. On top of having been elected, members of the ECCS must meet the following criteria. They must be part of a club sport for at least 1 year and hold an officer position in that club, either currently or previously. They have to be willing to attend scheduled meetings and meetings on short notice. They have to abide by the guidelines for their elected position, hold an unbiased opinion towards all club sports, be in good standing with the university, and be a full-time student for the semester in which they are a member of the ECCS. Information on standing for nomination for the ECCS is distributed each year by the start of the spring semester. Elections for the following year's ECCS typically take place in February at a President's Council meeting. For all communication with Mason on behalf of your club, please only contact the Club Sports office. Do not contact the RSO office, Accounts Payable, or any other department on your own. Please send all club-related emails only to gmuclubsports@gmail.com. This email is checked by all club sports staff, so the response rate is much quicker. It is not necessary to both email and phone about a request, and please do not also send emails to GMU Club Sports and to the full-time staff's personal GMU email addresses with the same message. As you can imagine, our office is very busy helping all of our clubs, and the full-time staff also has other non-club related duties here at Mason. As such, emails that we deem to be urgent should be responded to within 1 business day by our office. All other emails may take up to 3 business days for us to respond. We do our best to respond as quickly as possible, but please plan on it taking longer, as our schedules can be unpredictable at times, depending on what is going on with other clubs and other university activities. For any items that your club is having shipped or mailed to you, please have them come only to the Club Sports office. Do not have them sent to your own house. Your club's mailing address is your club name on the following line: Mason Recreation, Rack Building, George Mason University, 4400 University Drive, Mail Stop 1G6, Fairfax, Virginia 22030. If you need to have anything faxed to us, you can have it sent to our confidential number 703-993-2510. Lastly, if you need to get in touch with me, you can call me at 703-993-5819 or email me at gmuclubsports@gmail.com. Congrats, you've completed Module 1 of the training. Please take the module quiz on IM Leagues. Module 2 is up next and will cover travel, reserving facilities, and hosting club events.